In the wise words of Miss Elizabeth O, it's about damn time! But with less profanity, we're talking about the movie About Time today to continue our rom-com themed month, and this podcast that you're currently listening to is called The Swamp, and The Swamp is an acronym.
Stands for some whack-ass movie podcasting.
And we are doing rom-coms this month because I'm having a fake wedding. Well, it's not a fake wedding, I'm actually married, but it's
there's legal documents being signed.
Yeah. There are legal documents that have been put into action, but I'm not doing the romancy thing, so I'm entering some romance into my life through this podcast, so we're doing some rom-coms.
I was gonna say, you did tell me to show up in a Hawaiian shirt, if that gives anyone, like, a clue in to what
I will be wearing a Hawaiian
is.
shirt. Yeah, so,
everyone wear Hawaiian shirts for Dara.
You kind of befuddled me this week, because I would say that this is far more rom than it is com, and I think
did realize
the moments where I would still say it's a rom-com, and I think even rom-droms, I still put mostly into the rom-com genre, because it's, like, lighthearted and still happy. So even though it's, like, more of a on the drama side, basically all of those Rachel McAdams movies, like,
exactly.
I just would say are all rom-coms. Like, it doesn't matter what the content of them is, as a fucking rom-com.
It's The Notebook, it's a rom-com, which, that is not a rom-com. There's Alzheimer's involved. Like,
it's not funny.
It's not at all funny. Yeah, no, I was like an hour and 40 minutes into this, and I was like, maybe I should look up where this actually falls, like, in the genre spectrum. And it was romance/fantasy, and I was like, oh yeah, there's no comedy in that at all.
Yeah.
I
would say even more drama, though, because the fantasy/sci-fi element to this movie was whack as fuck.
In what way? I mean, like, it was definitely, like,
absolutely no lore. Absolutely no build-up.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, the only thing was just that this man could time travel.
I was gonna say, it was
like,
pretty,
he could do it.
It was definitely, like, mind you, it was, like, the center point of the movie, basically, is that Donald Gleason can time travel, but it, like, genuinely took a back burner, which I kind of liked.
Yeah.
Like, you could have entirely made this movie as just a regular rom-com, he can't time travel, and it would have been basically the same movie. It's not better.
Yeah, I would say, I would never in a million years categorize this as, like, a sci-fi film. Somebody's like, oh, hey, what's your favorite sci-fi film? And they say, About Time? What the fuck?
I feel like sci-fi
I
think sci-fi is very different than fantasy, though. You know what I mean?
That's true. But this movie, I would say, is even more sci-fi than fantasy, because time travel, to me, is more sci-fi, whereas fantasy is more, like, wizards and elves and, like, mythical
That's
shit.
fair. That's actually a really good observation. I totally agree with you.
But I would still say, whatever, if this is a fucking rom-com. And I do like that we kind of took a little step to the left, because last week we did the ultimate, like, bad, like, I'm gonna be so punchy, and every line is a joke, but it's not funny, and, like, so we did the really quintessential, like, bad, like, rom-com last week, so I like that we kind of went, a little bit different this week, and you suggested this. I had never seen it, but you have seen it, you like this movie, right?
I do like this movie. The first time I watched this, because this is the second time I've watched it, it was, like, after I had, like, just had a conference or whatever, and it was, like, a long weekend, and I got home, and I remember I sat down, and I drew myself a bath, I put my laptop on, like, a stool next to me, put a bath bomb in, and I ate a cheesecake in the bath while I watched this.
Oh my god.
So it was very, like, I really created the ideal circumstance to watch this sort of movie. Like, if you're gonna watch, like, any sort of romance movie, I feel like you have to set the vibes. You know what I mean?
I think any movie,
That's
you
true.
could put on the worst shit in the world. You could put on Hoobie Halloween starring Adam Sandler. And if I'm in a bathtub eating a cheesecake, I'm like, this shit is awesome. Like, if you just create the perfect conditions, any movie can be good. I love that. Much reversely, I sat in my unair-conditioned apartment and I just ate dry, smart food like a fucking hamster while I watched this movie. So it's I think quite the opposite.
See, I tried to like recreate the vibes a little bit. Didn't quite do it. But I had like a long day the other day, and I got myself some treats from my job as a reward. So I like sat down and I cut up some apples and like a fancy cheese that I picked out. And like, have you ever had cookie butter? Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yep, speculoos.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, I had like the crunchy one, a Granny Smith apple in that shit. So good. And then I made myself a mule, and I watched this. So not quite the same idea, but
pretty good,
pretty solid. A small charcuterie board, like while the sun's setting, on my bed, just chilling. I do have AC, so I'm a step ahead of you.
So fuck off. But I was intrigued and a little bit excited to watch this one because I like Donald Gleason, and I really like the concept of him being like the leading man in a rom-com, because a lot of the time, not to say he's a hot man, but I would say it's usually the Channing Tatums and the Hugh Grants and just the more like stereotypical, like conventionally attractive side. I like that he was kind of gangly and awkward.
He was,
and like, you know, trying his best. I didn't really.
It was another quirky lead.
Yeah, 2 in a row now, which is like, I think a common thing you could probably find out of a lot of rom-coms is like one of them's a little weird. And
what were you gonna say you didn't like though? Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, but I mean, Rachel McAdams is great, and she's great in this movie, and she's great in every rom-com because she's the queen of the
bread
genre.
and butter.
But I do not like the way they tried to make her, like, mousy, and, like, she's so insecure, and she's not really that pretty, and she's, like, doesn't think she's that pretty, and that whole plotline they did with her here, I'm like, what the fuck? That woman standing there, you just gave her glasses and bangs. She's still a 10. We can all still see that she's a 10.
I was gonna say, the bangs are only a small diversion. I was gonna say, like, it's so funny because that you say, like, they tried to make her insecure, because it was, like, the only time she ever, like, it ever comes to, like, fruition is, like, his mother is, like, so what are your bad qualities? And she's like, I'm really insecure. And that's, like, it. She's like, I have a bad temper sometimes.
At the very beginning, though, he's like, you're really pretty. Like, I think you're really pretty. And she's like, really? You really think so? You're not just, like, kidding? You're not just joking with me? And he's like, no, I think you're really pretty. I like your bangs. And she's like, you really like them? Like, you really, really mean it?
Yeah, I guess so.
The whole time I'm like, shut the fuck up! You're fucking Hollywood hot!
Yeah.
Like, I hate that shit. When they try to they just put the hot girl in glasses and then say, like, oh, she's so undesirable. Like, fuck that shit. I hate that trope, and I especially hated it here, because that woman is a goddess!
That is the queen of the rom-com. Do you know who you're talking about? Yeah, no.
That's America's wife. That's America's wife right there.
No, for real, though. Oh my god. I was gonna say, I'd still marry her in this. I don't care how mousy she is.
Yeah.
I don't care how bad her...
But she's, like, not even.
Not even.
She's, like, at moments, she's, like, pretty sexually confident and, like, pretty, like, you know, not well-spoken, but, like, seems likable and conversational. And then she's like, oh, no, you really like me? Oh, I read books for a living. Tee-hee. And I'm just like, where is this dynamic?
No, I get that,
Anyways,
though.
Let's get to a recap,
hold on, because I get that, like, being, like, I'm on my shit, like, I'm a 10 and I know it, and then going and, like, dropping, like, literally... in a split second being like, okay, I'm a 2. Like, you know what I mean?
That's so true. But it's like I'm the hottest person in the world, but also I hate myself. like that kind of mindset. Or like I have to be the hottest bitch at the grocery store, but also I have body dysmorphia.
No, entirely. So I feel like while it was not executed very well, I get her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wish I could get her. She's literally perfect.
Oh my god.
That's why she's in every rom-com, and she's just perfect. She's just, like, nice, and she just plays the same person always as the love interest, and it's like smart enough to, like, edge on, like, she's anyways, we can get into, because I feel like her character in this is very, like, prototypical her in the rom-com. She plays a little more to the, like, mousy side.
But I just want to say that, like, we've seen so many rom-coms, like, through the eyes of, like, the male protagonist, and then, like, it's Rachel McAdams. I want to see a rom-com through Rachel McAdams' perspective. Where is it?
So
like,
true.
She's done, I could not tell you how many. Probably 20. Probably. 15, 20.
Wasn't she in that... She was in that lesbian movie.
Oh, yeah, Disobedience? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that's...
Maybe that's the one.
I just need, like, I haven't seen it. I just know that they were, like, spitting all over each other.
Yeah. The only thing I know is that they used lychee juice and those scenes to spit into each other's mouths, and I've never seen the movie, but I do know that one scene, and I do know that they used lychee juice.
That's all I need to know. It's been on my watch list for 5 years.
Oh my god.
But I would love to see, like, something with her, like, as, like, the actual protagonist in, like, a rom-com.
Yeah.
Because, like, while she does, like, absolutely pull her weight in, like, every rom-com she does, I feel like it would just be a powerhouse. It's fucking powerhouse.
She's still the supporting.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's always the supporting. She's the love interest. She's the girl that they're chasing after and going after. It's there. She supports their narrative. So, yeah, I definitely would like to see. I mean, at this point, she's on to bigger and better things, but she's currently the love interest of the Marvel Doctor Strange, so she's entrapped in that universe for the foreseeable future.
That makes me want to die. That's so fucked. But anyways.
But in this, so this movie, I would say my, like, rapid fire recap would be that Donald Gleason's character, his name is Tim. Is that correct?
Tim.
Tim.
Red
on his
flag
21st
already.
Birthday, what, that his name is Tim? His name isn't, like, Joshua. I don't know. But no offense to any Joshuas or Tims out there. Just biblical names are a little, I don't know. But is Tim a biblical name?
I don't know. I don't think it is. I could be so wrong.
A reading from the book of Tim. I don't think so. But Tim, on his 21st birthday, his father says, I have to tell you a big secret. All the men in this family can time travel, and apparently it just comes into action on your 21st birthday because he was never able to do this before, or either he had never done the ritual, which is this, that you go into a dark place and you think of a place and then you just go there, which seems super simple. And I think you have to clench your fists, brother.
You have to, like, clench your fists.
Still, I think it would have probably happened on accident at some point, so it must have, like, come into, like, effect on his 21st birthday. So
because could you imagine time traveling on accident?
Or just, like, every time you're a little angry and you reminisce about something, bonk, now I'm back at my bad day at work or something, you know? Like, but, so his dad's like, you can time travel, all the men in this family can, just the men, only the men.
Of course.
Because that's how that works. And basically Donald Gleason's like, oh, hasn't this, like, fucked up with, like, world historical events? And he's like, no, you can only go to places in your life, memories that you have, you can only go backwards, never forwards, and that basically nobody's ever done anything, like, horrible enough to really fuck shit up, so we just don't really worry about it. That's the whole lore. That's all we get.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the entire grounds of time travel that exist in this movie.
The only other thing we get is, like, if you, like, have a kid, you can't go back past that. Because, like, if you bust a nut, like, 0.2 seconds later than, like, you actually did, then you're fucked. Different kid. Like, that's basically it.
But, so he's like, well, I'm gonna make a lot of money, whatever, and his dad's like, don't ever try to do it for money or fame, because that's just, you're gonna be sad. So he's like, okay, so I'm gonna try to use my power for love. So he goes through, basically he has this little flirtationship with Margot Robbie, jump scare. He kind of then realizes you can't time travel to make someone like you. Like, you can only kind of time travel to, like, just change certain situations, but, like, you can't actually change, like, how people feel kind of thing. So, like, you can go back and, like, be more suave or, like, catch someone at the right time, but, like, you can't fundamentally change other people. So it doesn't work out with Margot Robbie, but then he meets Rachel McAdams at a fucking blind dinner where you, like, eat dinner in the dark next to strangers, which is a real thing. I thought that this movie trying to be funny, but this is a real kind of restaurant that exists in England that that you go and you eat in the dark, and it's called, like, dinner noir or some shit like that.
Oh, I should have gone.
I literally thought that this was a fucking joke, and I was like, when is the punchline
like
gonna...
one, respectfully.
This movie is only funny when it's not trying to be, in my opinion. And I'm like, the blind servers in the blind restaurant, like, that's like an SNL bit. Are you kidding me? But he meets Rachel McAdams, he gets her number, but then he's also trying to be a lawyer in London, and then he goes back in time to help his guy who he lives with, his play, and so he loses her number, so then he has to go back and try to find her again. This is basically the first conundrum of, like, him misusing time travel, him goofing up. So then he finds her again, but realizes she has a boyfriend, so he time travels back to before when she had the boyfriend, and he catches her early, they go out to dinner, they really hit it off, and they kind of start this little relationship. They're such a good couple, they're both so quirky, oh, they're so cute together, and then they fall in love, and they have kids, and that's when he kind of learns that you really can't time travel back to before when you had kids, because then your nut changes. So he time travels back, and then lives up to the moment, and his kid is different, and that's when he learns, like, that shit's fucked. But then, inexplicably, he just is able to go back and fix it, so his kid is the same as before. We don't really get... It's a kind of a big plot hole for me, at least, because he fixes, because his daughter is named Posey, and then he time travels back, and now all of a sudden he has a son, and then the dad explains, and then he just goes back again, and suddenly it's fixed. It's on the right path again. So he just kind of undoes it. Somehow he just undoes it. And then he continues to live he's married to Rachel McAdams. They have this cute little wedding. They have kids. They have a second kid. And then they have a third kid, but as the third kid is coming, it turns out that the dad has cancer and is dying, and basically if they have this third kid, he will never be able to time travel back to before his dad's death, really, so it's like a big decision, but then he just does it, and right before his dad dies, he teaches him, oh, you have to live every day like you're not a time traveler, and then time travel back and appreciate the little things, be nice to people, tip your waitress extra, smile at people, and that's kind of like, it's more about living in the moment and being appreciative of the things around you because you got to live the same day twice. So, like, things that were normally annoying or a hassle suddenly become, like, really charming and cute. And he then just decides to live forth his life, and he never time travels again, and he just lives his life as a dad and a husband, and he's very grateful for it. Also, there's a whole side plot about how his sister is an alcoholic, and he time travels back to help her not become an alcoholic, and he fucks shit up then, and he undoes it. That's also another thing. But that's basically the movies. He time travels, and there's love, but it's also more about, like, appreciating the moments in life as a human.
Yeah. Which I do really dig that, honestly. Like, this is a movie that, like, makes me feel like I have, like, a bit of a takeaway. Like, I'm like, oh, this movie is gonna impact me for 2 days, and then I'm gonna go back to, like, living my life how I have been living it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 48 hour where I'm like, wow, you know, that mosquito that's buzzing against my window, so beautiful. So lovely. Such a charming little touch of life. No, but I really liked the message that this movie had.
Yeah.
I didn't love the layers and the packaging and the whole thing around it, but I did at the very, very end, he has this, you know, there's this kind of montage of, he says, you know, like, you have to just appreciate the things and the people in your life and whatever, and there's just, like, this really touching montage of just people doing ordinary things, but it's very touching, and it makes it, this movie made me emotional in the same fucking way that those Sarah McLachlan sad dog commercials fucking tug at my heart
forcibly.
I know that it's sad. Why am I tearing up? It's a fucking ad. I'm just trying to watch, like, daytime TV. I didn't want to see a sad dog. That's what this movie, at the very end, all of a sudden tugged on my heartstrings, and I'm like, you did that on fucking purpose. I have no control over my emotions. If you show me 2 old people holding hands in the park, I'm gonna feel some type of way about it.
No, exactly. We were talking about this beforehand, and I was sitting there, I was like, I cried. I definitely cried.
At the end, I was just like, oh, that's just, like, a really nice, I was like,
it's a capstone.
That's nice.
It's a lovely little capstone on top of it, like, And this
movie was ultimately very, very charming and very touching, and I will give it that. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry, I did not like it.
Okay, tell me, is it just because of the plot holes, or what else? Because I had a feeling you didn't like it because of the way he, like, jumps back in time to, like, manipulate, like, situations with women. That's what my first inkling was. I was sitting there, I thought about texting you, and I was like, I have a feeling she did not dig this.
So it's not even as much that I was, like, annoyed that he was manipulating women, because it's like, I also would, if I, like, said something awkward in a conversation,
oh yeah,
like, fuck shit up, I would also, like, if I had that power, I would also go back and, like,
I do the same
undo
thing.
that, because, like, when he's, like, being awkward around Margot Robbie, I'm like, well, yeah, no shit, she's fucking Margot Robbie, like, of course you're gonna be awkward around her, but my whole thing was, I never really felt like he learned anything from when he would fuck up, or, like, you know, make a little blunder, time travel and fix it. But I personally never felt like he learned. So my first big issue is the time holes within the lore of the time traveling. Because he fucks up and he undoes his kid and has a different kid.
Yeah.
Then he just goes back again to before when that happened and goes forward and has the same kid. So then by that logic, wouldn't you just have to do it twice then every time and then it would never unchange?
I think it's that he, like, goes back to, like, the part that he changed. Because what was it? It was, like, a thing of he, like, went and, like, changed the interaction that he had with his sister. So I think he could just jump back to the interaction that he had with his sister where he was like, oh, I can time travel, and, like, shows her you can time travel and just not do that. And he just let everything go through, like, at once. Like, you know what I mean?
I guess, but I just think that, like, destroys the whole logic of the whole time travel thing. Because then he's still going backwards. So then when he lives through that timeline, shouldn't the kids still be different?
I have no idea.
By the nut
Trust
logic,
me.
shouldn't
Trust
that
me.
kid still be different?
The first time I watched this, it did, like, fuck me up like this. Like, this, like, I feel like now I'm kind of past it, almost, but I did go back and forth about it for, like, about a day.
And the other thing that confused me slightly was he has this thing with his sister, so she's in a bad relationship, and she sort of is mentally, you know, not doing great. She starts drinking a lot, and she gets in a car accident. And he takes her with him at one point.
Yeah.
He's like, he tells her, which, that's the
This
other
is the,
thing.
well, this is the part, this is the part that fucks up the kid.
Yeah, but none of these men decide to tell anyone about this shit. I would tell my wife in a second.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because
his mom,
I'd be like, yeah.
Dude, his mom seems cool as fuck. I would love to hang out with his mom.
Fire. I'm like that, and the dad seems cool too, so I'm like, you didn't tell your cool wife about this? Like,
right.
I honestly, that's kind of selfish, because then you're like, I'm using it to, like, I don't know, to, like, against you or something, right? Mm-hmm. But I guess if I knew that, like, my significant other could travel back in time and fix up every time they fucked up, I would also, like, feel very, like, weird about everything they did, because I'm like, what try is this? Mm-hmm. Like, this try number 5.
Yeah.
But,
how many times have you been here?
The thing that fucked me up was he takes his sister back to the night she meets her abusive boyfriend so that she cannot, you know, get with him. And then they do that, and then she does that, and then they just get back in the closet, close their eyes again, and jump into the future. They just go back. And they just go back and see how it was. Never before that. He always has to live through the experience to catch up to the time.
See, I don't think that that's the case. I think that's, like, one of those things, like, I just don't think that the movie gave enough explanation to what's what, really. Because I know his dad was like, you can't go into the future, basically. He's like, you can only travel backwards, you can't, like, travel forwards into the future. But I think that's only the case for, like, to the point that you haven't lived to, like, actually lived to yet. But I feel like it's, like, a big, like, timeline of, like, you can, like, if you jump back, like, 5 paces, like, you're at number 1 and you jump back 5 paces, forward. You can jump back to number 1. You know what I mean?
I guess, but to me, he should have to relive up to what he does, because when he takes his sister back, my immediate thought was, that's before you met your wife. And now he's gonna be stricken with the realization that he has to re-meet his wife and go through that, like, he doesn't have her anymore. No, he just jumps back and he has her. And I was like, oh, finally, he's gonna face some consequences for his stupid decisions, because he's constantly doing this thing where he's going back and then fucking up shit and wishing he hadn't gone back, or, like, you know, missing out on things or otherwise. But I'm like, so if he goes all the way back with his sister, then can just come back, then there's no consequences. Then you can just do whatever, you know? So I just didn't like that, because I truly was like, oh, this movie's about to, like, reset to the beginning. We're gonna get a quick montage of him trying to fall in love with Rachel McAdams to, like, reset his life, but that just wasn't the case at all. My foundational understanding of the time travel magic in this movie just was completely shooken, but I guess it wasn't a very steady foundation to begin with, but it just, every time something came up, I was like, wait, what the fuck? You can do that? Or, like, that, I didn't think that's how that works. So that just kind of bothered me, and it was almost distracting. I was kind of like, I'm too busy trying to figure out, like, what?
See, for me, like, when I watched this, it was, I kind of like that it's fast and loose, because the only time I really thought about it was, like, after the fact. Like, once the movie's done, then I can think about it. But I did like how it, jumped a little bit back and forth. Mind you, it did get a bit confusing. It could have been a little bit better done, but I just generally like this movie.
Because even if they had said, like, you know, when you go back, you can always jump back to your most recent memory.
Yeah.
Even just establishing that would have, and the only things that will change will be of how you have affected the past, because at the very end, him and his dad go back to a moment in his childhood, and they have this whole conversation of, like, if we just go on a walk and no one will see us, nothing will have changed. So if it, I guess that is how it is. It just wasn't explained very well to me.
No,
but if you do go back and then you jump back to the future, the only things that will have changed will be the things you actually affected. So if you go back and don't do anything to come forward, like, nothing will have changed. But yeah, it's just, it was weird, and I didn't really, I mean, I, like, thought I understood it, and then things would come up, and I would just be a little confused.
Yeah, that's extremely fair.
And I also, I liked their relationship, but there were times when I was not entirely buying it, because I'm like, you just met this nice and pretty girl in this one situation, and now you're, like, using your powers to, like, harp on her specifically. Whereas if your whole thing is that you're trying to, because if it's like he has the thing with Margot Robbie, and he learns that if that's not the person that's right for you, you're never going to be able to make it work for you, even if you use all the time travel in the world. Then he meets this girl, and then shit continues to, like, not really work out, but he just keeps going back and back and back until it works out. And I'm like, at what point do you just have to learn that you just have to meet somebody in the right way? That it's not gonna, like, you're not gonna really force the issue.
Yeah, know? I didn't like that he, like, kept bringing up her interests and everything like that, and I was like, that was really weird. I'd be freaked out if someone, like, came up to me and was like, hey, and just, like, mentioned, like, one of my big interests or something like that.
Yeah. Which I do think we were supposed to find that to be a little off-putting and creepy.
Yeah, for sure.
But the way that she found it charming, like, he did it once at the museum, right? And it didn't work. And then he does it again at the party, and then it works that time. So it's sort of like sending the message that, like, persistence is key, sort of.
No.
Like, if you just keep, right, like, if you just keep getting at it, it'll eventually work. And, yeah.
That's so, like, okay, that's such the wrong message.
But, yeah, I didn't like that way that he was doing that. And I'm also like, when do you just learn that you can't weasel your way into, like, love or, like, into happiness? That you just gotta, like, let it happen or whatever, because I understand the little things of, like, going back so you don't spill juice on yourself, or going back so you don't say something super awkward, but, like, using information you obtained and then going back and then saying it to somebody to, like, manipulate what they think of you, a little weird. Not saying I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I was gonna
totally
say,
would, but,
like, I would entirely be guilty of that. I think everyone probably would be.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, well, that was, like, really off-putting to me. It was, like, the start of their relationship. Once it got rocking and rolling, I did really like the romance part of them. I thought they had, like, pretty solid chemistry. Also, they're both great actors. I love both of them. I thought it was outstanding. I don't know.
I was charmed.
Yeah, exactly.
Charming.
I was charmed. I tugged on my little heartstrings. You know what I mean? I thought the writing was solid. It wasn't too fucking corny. It was a little corny, but, like, in the right way.
Corny.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. In a rom-com-y way. With the montage in the fucking subway tunnel, I hated that shit.
Yeah,
I'm
but,
like, this
okay.
is so
it has to be there. Any rom-com after 2006, if there's not a fucking montage, then it's not a rom-com. You know what I mean? Which, mind you, this isn't, but you know what I mean?
But also, there were some definitely outdated jokes here. The number of
gay
times
one?
that prostitutes, the gay situation, which, like, I did not know if they were trying to play that off to be funny. of like, so, you know, Margot Robbie says, oh, this is my girlfriend. He's like, oh, you're gay. And then she's like, no, like, that's just my friend. And then he goes back in time again. And then he's like, you should be careful of what you say. And then she's like, fuck you. And then he goes back in time again, which I didn't know if we were supposed to think that was funny by 2013 standards. I didn't get it, but also just the number of times they just say prostitute. And they're, okay, wait, sidestep, Vanessa Kirby.
I love her. I love her so much. Like, don't get me started on this tangent because we'll never stop.
But when they're always like, this prostitute whore.
And she's like, the hottest person I've ever seen.
Right? But she just, like, clearly is just, like, a normal person. But they're, like, making jokes like, oh, yeah, she's just a prostitute. She's literally a prostitute.
I'm like, oh, so she has, like, a fun sex life, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So she's
she, like,
just,
wears
like...
feather earrings. Oh, she's such a fucking whore.
I'm like, oh, my God. So she's, like, just good and bad.
You're right. But they have their, like, fine...
She owns a vibrator. She's a whore.
Yeah. But they, in their final little meetup in the restaurant, basically the conversation that, like, they're doing a little back and forth, we're both so witty, of, like, him saying something about prostitutes and her being like, oh, you know a lot of prostitutes, and then them doing this back and forth thing. But just the number of times they're, like, prostitute jokes, and, like, also I know that term is outdated now and we don't use that, but just, like, just the way it was thrown around so casually in this movie was, like, kind of jarring to me, but then I'm like, I guess it was made in 2013, but I'm like, that's not that long ago, but I guess maybe it is.
About 10 years, so you know what I mean? I was gonna say, you know what was outdated? Was her bangs. The aggressive bangs in this movie were very 2013. Oh, she was like...
They did her dirty. They did her dirty with those bangs.
She said, the fringe, yeah, it's new. He said, I love it. I'm like, you fucking liar.
I love, we know that time has passed because her bangs have grown.
Not even. Her bangs hardly even changed. The length of her hair was the thing that changed. The bangs stayed. Constant.
They got a little more, like, wispy at some point, but yeah, it was tough. That's what they're like, oh, she's not super conventionally attractive. She has bangs. I'm like, you just gave her just, like, a shit haircut. She's still hot. She's powering through it.
Right. You gave her, like, just shitty glasses, for real.
Right. But I didn't, some of the language used, some of the writing wasn't my favorite, but ultimately I was charmed by the characters and their relationship, and there were parts where I definitely could overlook the sort of inconsistent, magical lore of this movie, because it was just, like, nice people doing nice things, and I also liked that their relationship was always pretty happy. Yeah. Like, they never, like, had a big fight and he went back to, like, undo the fight. It was never really, like,
well,
that
it was interesting.
As much.
It was interesting because the one fight that they had, the one fight that was shown, I don't think got, like, undone sort of thing.
Yeah.
And everything. So I really liked that. I did like seeing, like, the times where he, like, didn't time travel and all that stuff, which was, like, the fight and their wedding because it rained and everything like that.
Yeah.
And that was just, like, a really, like, sweet moment, like, realizing that, like, yeah, not everything is going to be perfect, but it can still be absolutely perfect. Nice, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Which is obviously the takeaway of the whole movie.
Yeah.
That, you know... which is a very sweet message.
Exactly. That's totally the reason that I love this movie. It's just, like, the movie itself is not perfect, but it like you said, it's very charming, and it's the takeaway. Mm-hmm. Just nice. Just a really nice little, it's like a little warm blanket.
I will say, one moment that made me, like, literally pause and, like, have to, like, step away to chuckle. That's what I'm saying. This movie is, like, funny, always unintentional.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when they're trying to make me laugh, it is dead air. And then when something, like, weird and just, like, quintessentially 2013 or just, like, awkward or off, like, in the writing that just, it was not meant to be funny, but it so is. I literally was cackling when they have their first sexual encounter and she's like, I'm gonna go change into my pajamas and then maybe do you want to take them off me? And he's like, sure. So he waits out in the living room and she goes into her bedroom and then she puts on what you would think sexy lingerie, something to do the deed. Scrooge McDuck. Literally boy in the striped pajamas up in here, blue and white cotton striped. I wanted her to have the little cap with the little pom-pom on the end, to be holding a candlestick, or, like, sleeping and going, me, 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 me. Those are those fucking pajamas, 90-year-old man pajamas. And then he walks in, and he messes up a few times, so he redoes it, but then he walks in and she goes, hi. Like, all sexual. And I'm like, you look like Scrooge McDuck right now. Like, what is this? And then obviously he, like, takes them off her and they have some nice sexual encounters and she's wearing, like, a nice bra.
Like a sexy little bra.
What was your... I'm like, what is this setup? What is this setup?
She's trying to throw him off his game.
Right?
In my head, I'd like to think that Scrooge McDuck is also sleeping in, like, the sexy, like, bra underneath.
Underneath.
That's just my...
Underneath that little cap.
Yeah, that's my reality.
But I like, literally had to step away from my computer because I was like, this is not meant to be funny, and I'm dead.
It's very 2013. I'll say that. Like, the quirky girl, you know what I mean? Like, she's gonna put on her little, like, Scrooge McDuck PJs. Which,
Wait,
like...
can I tell you something that's gonna blow your mind?
Please.
The original casting for What's It, Mary?
Okay.
Guess.
Do I have to guess? Is it someone
No.
like... No.
Zoe Deschanel.
No!
Yeah. Yeah. It does not make so much sense.
This movie would be horrific. Respectfully, horrific.
Horrific. Yeah, so different. And you can so see it, though, in the, like, I'm the quirky... kind of, I don't usually get attention girl, but I have a little charm about me, and he sees something. That is so her, and I just think that and she was cast, she was fully cast, and then they dropped, she dropped it due to scheduling conflicts with something else, and then they picked up Rachel McAdams for this. Yeah, isn't that wild?
Thank God.
This whole movie had been Zoe Deschanel.
This movie would have been an entirely different movie. Yeah. Like, Rachel McAdams is really the one that sells this, because, like we said, she's America's wife. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Zoe Deschanel, she's a decent actress, but she's not...
But she has that way about her. She just has that quirky, twee way about her.
It's way too quirky.
Shake.
It's too quirky.
She is always that girl. She's always just Jess.
We need the quirk at, like, a 50. She can only ever bring it out at, like, a 90. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're at an 11, I need you to take it down to a 2.
Exactly. Jesus Christ. No, that makes so much sense.
Oh, wow. Guess who it is? My mom, Jen. I had a listener recently who messaged us who said, do you know that Vine that was like, you're my dad, boogie woogie woogie? Do you know what I'm talking about? Emily, no? No, they were like, every time you introduce dad, Jen, I think of that Vine, but I say, you're my mom, boogie woogie woogie. So I'm thinking that might need to be your intro music from now on. But I'm
so cute.
Jen is America's mom. If Rachel McAdams is America's wife, then Jen is America's mom.
God. That's true.
I have to say her. At least here on this podcast, Jen is everyone's mom, and she comes in down from the heavens, and she hosts this beautiful little segment halfway through the show, breaks up the pod, and she just asks us 2 things, and we all say which one we like better. It's a romp, it's a hoot, it's a holler. Jen, is there a theme this week?
There is a theme. So in honor of Rom-Com month, these are going to be things that are romantic versus things that are funny.
Ooh, okay.
Because, it can only be one. It can either be romantic
Rom versus
or it
com.
can be
Rom versus com.
That's my life. My life is a com-com. Things that should be romantic, I make them funny on purpose because intimacy makes me uncomfortable. So when things should be romantic, I just gotta jab in there with a little So I love this.
All right, chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Guys, I'm gonna do it today. It's gonna be a big day. I'm gonna say chocolate.
Woo! Chocolate.
It's only taken me about a year and a half. I've had a huge sweet tooth lately. Maybe it's just me working at Trader Joe's and being exposed to all their sweet treats. But it's also the fact that I live on the first floor of my house, and my doorway is like right next to the pantry, basically. So I'll go and I'll get up to pee in the middle of the night, and I just have these tiny little pretzel bites, these chocolate covered pretzel bites.
Oh, from Trader Joe's, they're so good. And the little peanut butter cups, the dark chocolate peanut butter cups.
Exactly it.
Stop.
I'll go to pee, pop a pretzel bite, and go right back to sleep. So I've been on a chocolate roll for a minute. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna go chocolate this week. Someone better mark this as a monumental day.
I am floored. The first one is a dozen long stem roses or a pug.
A pug. Well, okay, I'm gonna reinterpret this question as like it's a gift from a romantic partner, and if they bought me a dog without like as people who surprise gift another person a pet, that's so fucking whack to me. When they're like, surprise, happy birthday, I bought you a puppy, like, you know how much responsibility that is? That's something you really have to like think about and talk about as like where that's gonna fit into your life. So I'm reinterpreting that question as, like, it's Valentine's Day. Would I rather get a bunch of flowers or a dog? Like, literally, my life cannot sustain a dog right now. So I'll pick the roses because that's, like, less consequential. And the fact of, like, I just think of, like, Easter when people buy their kids bunnies and then they just, like, let them out in the woods because they don't care about them kind of situation. So maybe I just turned this really dark, but...
Yeah, you did.
Sorry.
No, but you said a pug specifically?
Yes.
See, here's my thing, is that I just feel so bad for pugs because they've been inbred so much that they can't breathe and they're just such a fucked up dog. If it was any other dog, Jen, you would have had me, but I can't say yes to a pug. Those guys should not have even been brought into creation. That's man's like Frankenstein right there. So I'll go for the roses.
Wow, I thought I'm gonna pick pugs. Pugs are cute and they're funny, right? I guess I'm wrong.
They are cute and funny.
Imagine
you're not
sleeping with one. Imagine
That's
sleeping
me.
with one next to you.
Dude, my spirit animal, I have sleep apnea. I just think a pug
God.
is just totally...
All right, next one is a sunset or farts.
Sunset or farts? Honestly, okay, I usually don't think like fart jokes are funny when placed in media because it's usually like kind of tacky and untasteful and like, oh, we're trying to make you laugh, but a funny fart in real life is fucking funny. A funny fart IRL out of the confines of, you know, Hollywood production, a funny fart can really get me. So I'm gonna say a fart because also a sunset, who's up that early or late? I don't know.
Sunrises. See, that's the thing. Sunrises are definitely better. For sure. Like 9 out of 10 times, I promise you a sunrise is better.
Well, because we live on the East Coast, the sun rises here, so you really get to see the whole thing, where the sun sets on the West Coast, so we don't get to see, like, the beautiful sun setting over the ocean kind of thing. Sunsets
That's
here,
true.
like, aren't really any big whoop. It's the sun, it's the coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm also gonna go with, farts, honestly. I've just, I don't know what it is. I've been making a lot of fart jokes recently. I'm feeling like a fucking 9-year-old boy. Like, poop jokes, forget it. Fart jokes, had me fucking giggling my little ass off. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, same. I'm going with farts. Farts are funny. Okay, the next one is 2 quotes. So from Jerry Maguire, "You had me at hello," and from Mean Girls, "4 for you, Glen Coco. You go, Glen Coco."
You go, Glen Coco! I'm gonna pick Glen Coco. That was a unifying social factor between the ages of maybe 12 and 14 to me when I did not know how to relate to other people. You just make a Mean Girls reference and they just, they get it, like girls, right? Like, I didn't know how to talk to, like, other girls my age, and so you just, like, drop a Mean Girls reference and they're like, love that! So you just go, you go, Glen Coco, and everyone thinks you're great. So,
Literally.
Mean Girls was, like, a social saving grace for me for a really long time, actually. So I definitely will say that.
I feel that. That was, like, all of 8th grade. As long as you had seen that movie, like, you were fine, like, you were cool enough, like, you could hang, you could sit at the lunch table. So, yeah, no, I will definitely go for Mean Girls with that. That's not exactly my favorite one, but that's a good, solid quote.
I'm gonna go with...
That's, like, the saving grace.
I'm gonna go with Glen Coco, too. Next one is a Nicholas Sparks book or a David Sedaris book.
Oh, I really like David Sedaris. I haven't read a ton of his stuff. I'd say like maybe 2 or 3. But I have read his stuff. I've never read a Nicholas Sparks book. And I loved when I worked at the library, when people ask me for something funny, I just go and I grab them a David Sedaris book because it's pretty like universally as long as you're not like super prude. I don't know, it's pretty universally like great sense of humor. And I love his sister, Amy Sedaris, At Home with Amy Sedaris, great show. So
Yes.
love them both. David Sedaris, great stuff. So I'll go with that.
Unfortunately, I've never read any David Sedaris books. Sounds like if it's got your stamp of approval, I'm sure it's solid. But I haven't read any. I'm gonna have to go to my library and check some out.
I honestly also really recommend his audiobooks. He narrates them himself, and he has like kind of a lisp and like kind of a really distinct voice that he like really suits his sort of style of writing. A lot of his stuff is pretty autobiographical, so hearing him read his own books on audiobook, if you're looking for an audiobook for like a long car ride or something, definitely a David Sedaris would recommend.
I haven't, like I said, haven't read any of his stuff, but I did read The Notebook, like I said. Similarly to like having like Mean Girls quotes in like the 8th grade, I also had The Notebook on me for like silent like reading or whatever it was for like 8th grade and stuff like that. I remember just reading the like erotica parts like in like my fucking classroom in 8th grade. I was like, oh wow.
Dude, my SSR 8th grade book was The Green Mile. So, like, we were on the same boat.
I was sitting there, I was like, I don't think this is... I'm, like, in a classroom full of, like, 20 people. I was like, oh my god, we're not reading the same thing, are we? I was like, Noah! So I guess for that reason, I'll just go for Nicholas Sparks, because it was just a funny instance in my life.
I will take David Sedaris. Next one is calling someone sweetie or calling someone a weenie.
Weenie.
Yeah.
You're a weenie. If anyone ever called me sweetie, I would lose my fucking marbles. It, like, there's no way for that to not sound condescending unless you're, like, my fucking grandma or some shit. Like, right? Like, calling me, oh, sweetie, you're never not being a fucking bitch when you're calling someone sweetie. But weenie, what a good little insult. It's not quite, because you can be like, you're a dumb fucking bitch. That's one thing to be like, you're a weenie. You're a little weenie. That hits really hard.
I was gonna say, it does, like, hit a little deeper. For sure. No, weenie is definitely it. Yeah, like you said, if anyone calls me like sweetie out of the context of like an 80-year-old woman, fuck off. Like I can't stand you. I'll never see you or speak to you again. Weenie is such a good one.
Weenie is a good word.
She's silly.
I'm gonna go with weenie. Next one is red wine with dark chocolate or white wine with potato chips.
Ooh, and the funny one is white wine with potato chips, Jen, because in our household, this is what you watch. This is what you eat when you watch a good funny show. Yeah. Is that
our go-to snack? Dark chocolate
is like fun and sexy, but white wine and potato chips is what you eat when you're watching The Righteous Gemstones.
Yes, definitely.
And I've said it time and time again, I don't like red wine, it gives me GERD, but I love, like, by genetics, by true genetic passing down, my father has handed nothing to me but the need to pair a white wine with a salty snack, baby. If I've got a Chardonnay, by God, do I need a potato chip. Oh.
I thought you were going to say he passed you down the genetics of, like, a love of dark chocolate. That too.
That's probably also true. But Gary's need for a glass of white wine with a salty snack has persevered through all. It's cut through.
What's your ideal potato chip?
Oh, Cape Cod.
Like,
so
no, specifically white wine to like salty like potato chip pairing.
Personally, right now in this moment.
Okay.
I like Okay, if either of these brands wants to sponsor us, let us know because I
love Boda Box.
This is not sponsored, but Boda Box, their Pinot Grigio, it costs about a little less than $20 for what is 2.5 bottles of wine that I just suck down. Boda Box Chardonnay, and then a step down from there is like the Woodbridge, is also like the double bottle. Yep. And then a step down from there is Kendall Jackson, which is a little more expensive, but it's a single bottle of wine, and it's maybe about $15 $12. I don't know, but a Boda box. And then specifically the Cape Cod salt and pepper chips.
Ooh,
They're
I thought you were
little
going to say
spicy.
vinegar.
No, I don't like salt and pepper. Sea salt and cracked pepper. If you can hear, Cape Cod chips are my favorite because I love them in a sandwich because they add that little extra and just as a chip on their own. Why do chips need to end at salt? Pepper as well. Thank you. So that's my ideal affordable pairing.
Yeah, if anyone ever needs any recommendations, now I've got the inside intel.
TJ's, the TJ's intel.
Yeah. I'm just gonna start telling you like what my food and drink pairings are just based off of Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's specific. No, you can't do that because they don't sponsor us. So if Trader Joe's wants to sponsor us to have all our food and drink pairings be specifically from their stores, they're gonna have to slide into our DMs. So
like, trust me, I could tell you all about it. Salsa Verde trips. Get on that shit. Get on that. What was the question?
white wine and a salty snack, or red wine and
dark chocolate,
or white wine and chips, or red wine and dark chocolate. Yeah.
So I do really like red wine. I'm definitely it's a learning process for me because I feel like red wine you gotta kind of like you like rank up almost. You know what I mean? But I definitely feel at home with white wine, and I am very much more a savory girl than sweet. So a white wine and a chip is my bread and butter. So I'm totally on the white wine train.
Same. I love white wine with potato chips. And like you said,
Jen,
while we're watching funny shows, for sure.
Do you have an ideal pairing?
Oh, I just like the Cape Cod original chips. Yeah.
Okay.
I also...
What kind of wine? Any?
Oh, yeah, the Kendall Jackson Chardonnay probably is like the house
that's
white.
Our house
yeah.
wine. Yeah. KJ, that's our house white. But also, I feel like, Jen, you're a Ruffles girl. You like
I
a Ruffle
do like
chip,
Ruffles.
Yeah?
I do like Ruffles. Also like Wavy Lays. Those are good too.
Wavy,
Yeah.
similar, yeah, for sure.
I'm like any salt and vinegar is good for me with like a nice like Pinot.
All right. Next one is staying overnight at a bed and breakfast or going to an improv comedy show.
I've done neither of these things in my life. I started at an Airbnb, which is just somebody's house, so I'm really not going to count that because no one made me breakfast. And I've never been to a comedy show. I've never really seen live comedy, which I would really like to. I feel like that would be a
You should. You know what's fun to go to comedy shows on Foxwoods. We should do that sometime. Yeah.
Sure. Derek, come down. Come to Connecticut.
All right.
Let's
But
do it.
out of those two things, the thing that sounds more appealing to me is the comedy show, because I think even if it wasn't funny, I'd still have a good time, because when I can laugh at and with, you know? So I think comedy could be for me. There are some people who can't stand the secondhand embarrassment. They're like, oh, I hate stand-up comedy because it like makes me feel awkward. I would relish in it. So I could really see that working for me.
I'm gonna go for the bed and breakfast on this one. Just seems really nice.
I'm gonna take the comedy show. One time we went to a comedy show at a Chinese food restaurant, and the guy made a bad joke about like deadbeat dads, and a guy in the back row took it personally and like charged the stage, and there was like a fight. It was really weird. Next one is Timothy Chalamet in Little Women as Laurie, or Timothy Chalamet in Don't Look Up as Yule.
Okay, yeah. I actually really hated Don't Look
Yeah, I
Up.
knew you were going to say that.
I thought it was a real... What's that? The director, Adam McKay, who had done previously Vice and The Big Short, which were like both pretty solid movies that I appreciated the directorial style. And this one I just felt like was like heavy-handed and kind of like obnoxious. I did like Timothy Chalamet in that movie, though. I'm not gonna lie. I did like him in it. He provided a bit of comic relief, and he was kind of like a wholesome and nice character. When he says, "God, I love fingerling potatoes," like that really saved me in that movie. But I overall did not care for it. But what I do care for is Little Women, obviously. So I will pick him as Laurie, of course.
Clearly it's him as Laurie.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never said no to him. I would have been asking him on my own knee to marry me. So, yeah, no, it's him as Laurie.
Yeah, I'll take him as Laurie too. He was really funny in Don't Look Up though, but I would take him in Little Women. This is
I would have taught him how to like gamble better. You know what I mean? We would like I remember that like whole big spiel. He was like, "Joe, I gave up like gambling and like everything for you and all that." I'm like, "Dude, we could gamble
I could
together."
have been there. It could have been you and me, baby.
For real. You know how much money he had? Come on now.
all right. Last one. A box of chocolates or a wedgie.
Well, this is just objectively something that is great and something that is horrible. So I will say box of chocolates because who in their right mind will pick a wedgie?
They're funny though,
Yeah.
right? They're funny,
No.
right?
No, box of chocolates easily.
Yeah, same. Box of chocolates, especially on Chocolate Sweet Day.
Yeah, no, for real. Today I'm in a mood, so
Yeah.
I'm thinking about like I'm thinking about a salted
Salted caramel.
Yeah.
Covered in chocolate, definitely. So that is it for Rom-Com Chocolate and Vanilla.
Spectacular. Thank you so much,
Thank
Jen.
you.
That was intriguing, delightful, and spectacular. And as always, we love having you on the show. We'll see you next week. Maybe we'll post this on our Instagram for y'all to vote. Maybe not. Who's to say? We run this podcast with a $0 budget, so, you know, it is what it is. But we appreciate you having on Jen as our unpaid intern, and as always, we love you and we appreciate you.
I love you guys. Have an awesome week.
When I also, like, was okay, now I have to get back to my confusion.
please.
The dual jumping. If he can dual jump with his sister and his dad, they both do it. He dual jumps with his dad and he dual jumps with his sister. So, like, that's really fucking selfish for all these fucking men to be keeping that shit to themselves.
Entirely.
If you could,
like-
if I found out you were fucking jumping through time without me, if that, you literally all you had to do was hold my hands and for us to think really hard together and I could experience time travel and fix things in my life, I would be livid. I would be livid.
You'd never hear the end of it.
Oh.
I wouldn't divorce you, but you'd never hear the end of it.
And it was like, I don't know, this movie was sexist for not letting Kit Kat time travel.
Facts. Yeah, I
just wanted that for her.
She was probably one of my favorite characters. Her and Vanessa Kirby, I want them to get together. He's like, yeah, you need. He's like, yeah, you need a good boyfriend. No, you need a good girlfriend. I want those two. I want those two and me, and we can have a throuple. But we'll get to that later.
Chaotic. It would be a chaotic
entirely
throuple, but good one. I didn't really like the notion that, like, he changed something in her life and she went from being an alcoholic to being a mother. As, like, that was the way that this movie portrayed that she, like, put her life on the right path. That, like, she went from being, like, in an abusive relationship and, like, in abusing alcohol to, like, oh, he puts her on the right track and now she, like, has a baby and she's a good mom. I'm like, that doesn't have to be, like, the definition of, like, holiness and goodness. She can live a happy, satisfied life. Like, those are, like, two extremes or whatever.
No.
You can help her, but you can show that in a way that's not, like, oh, this is the ultimate way to show that people are, like, happy and successful is, like, domesticity.
Exactly.
I didn't like that. Especially for a woman.
One of the things that I wrote down was, like, too many kids in this. There was way too many kids in this for me. Did not love that for a second. And mind you, I feel like rom-com wise, we don't always get a ton of kids because it's usually within, like, a contained amount of time sort of thing. But, like, if it is over a span of years, there's always kids involved. I don't want that. Give me no kids. Let me see them happy together. Why does there have to be other kids, like, other people, other living little beings shitting and spitting? You know what I mean? I don't need that.
Or it's like, you know, that can work for some people, but, like, also show me, like, a happy life without it, too. You know?
Exactly.
And I think with Kit Kat, that could have happened, and I didn't appreciate that. But then, I mean, obviously, then he goes back again and undoes it, right? Because he, like, redoes her car accident. Literally, I couldn't even keep track at that point. But I really did think he was going to have to relive his life through the car accident up until that point, like, remade his wife.
Do we want to get into our regularly scheduled programming, or do you have...
So, fuck, marry, kill, who would we even say are the three... Like, do we want to say, like, Rachel McAdams, Donald Gleason, and then, like...
Would it be Kat?
The sister?
Or would it be his father, Bill Nighy?
Oh, sexy.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Know how I feel about... The octopus tentacles in Pirates of the Caribbean 2, baby. That's that man. That's that man. He plays the octopus, what's his name, Davy Jones or whatever. He plays that man in Pirates of the Caribbean 2.
I'm about
It's
to have
all
to
in the
excuse
eyes.
myself.
Yeah, wild. Yeah. Hot.
So, I mean, okay. If we both feel some type of way about him, let's just do it with Kat then.
Yeah.
Rachel
clearly.
McAdams. So
Okay,
it's Mary,
yeah.
Tim, and Kat.
Okay. So I think I might marry Tim because I think I could aggressively get that shit out of him.
Okay.
I feel like I wouldn't know actually, but if I was like, you're acting, I think I would be too, I think I could get it out of him and then we could time travel together. And then I also could like go back and just like rewatch TV
you'd have so much
series
time to watch,
for the first
like,
time or
so much TV.
yeah, all the TV shows, all the movies. I'd be so culturally educated. I would have like such a lit job as like a, I don't know, something, because I could just like get all the LinkedIn learning certifications.
Yeah.
Like, so I think I would like try to like weasel it out of him and I'd be married to him because I think that would be a fun thing. I'm gonna fuck Rachel McAdams in her Scrooge McDuck outfit because I do think that's sexy. And I guess I'll kill Kit Kat because, okay, sure.
See, I think that I'm gonna marry Kat. I feel like we get along really well, honestly. Also, I just feel like she needs a good girlfriend. Like I said before, she
True.
needs someone that's a little more stable, a little more level-headed. I can do that for her. Also, she's really cute. I can do that.
So true.
I can be that.
Oh yeah.
Rachel McAdams, yeah, like you said, Scrooge McDuck. It's kind of doing something. It's kind of doing something for me.
Hot.
I can.
The bangs. Hot.
I can listen.
It's
I can
working.
maneuver a front clip bra. All right, I got it. I'll fuck her, and then I'm gonna kill Tim. Unfortunately, because like, if I just met him on the street, like,
Why?
without his like little like time jumpy abilities, not doing it for me. Absolutely not. If anything, I'm getting like super uncomfortable because of Tim. So, what do you think for the whole movie though?
So hard.
Yeah,
so many hot
it's
people,
tough.
To consider.
Vanessa Kirby's
here.
top of my list.
So many hot people to consider. But also consider
Fuck!
Margot Robbie. Like, she's
She's,
also
like,
so hot, right?
Aggressively
but so
hot though. I don't think I can do it. You know what I mean? It's like it's too much. I'll
Right,
tell you
I
what.
get
Like I know
nervous.
my limits, and that's too hot for me to handle. I know when there's
That's-
I know when there's too many cooks in the kitchen, and I'm the only cook. And I'm the only cook in the kitchen. Like
I think the expression is if you can't stand the heat, get off the kitchen. But
same idea.
if you can't stand the heat where there are 50 other cooks, also maybe too many cooks in this hot kitchen, so leave.
Yeah.
Is that the new
I'm
expression?
calling the fire department because it's so hot, and I think there's a fire.
And there's also an OSHA violation because there's 15 cooks in this kitchen. But so I think first and foremost, I'm gonna marry his mom.
I love his mom
Mary.
so much.
She's awesome. She's fucking awesome. And they have that beautiful house, and it just seems like they like fucking pick herbs from the garden and like bowl out. And she just seems so chill with like such an immaculate sense of humor. She seems fucking awesome. Also, if the dad can stick around throughout the situation,
ideal.
he seems great too. But if I have to pick between them, I'm picking the mom because she just seems superior. And also, I'm not that good at table tennis, so I can't handle all that. So I'm gonna marry her. I'm gonna fuck Tom Hollander, the fucked up playwright friend.
Really?
I'm gonna fuck him because he's probably got some like twisted, I don't know. There's a little something there. Also, like Mr. Collins from Pride and Prejudice. There's like a little.
Oh my god! So he's
hot.
he's gonna introduce you to some things, is what you're saying.
He's hot. He also just seems kind of lonely. So I think maybe like I could just like hang out at his apartment and stay
Probably.
while he writes plays and but he seems mean and awful. But like I definitely do want to have sex with him. And then I'm gonna kill Tim.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I'm gonna kill Tim.
Fair.
Because he just, was doing the most and he didn't have to be doing all that.
So I'm gonna marry. Oh God, what's his dad's name? Bill Nighy. I'm gonna marry. It's
Yeah,
just Dad.
just Bill Nighy. Yeah.
Just Dad. That's all his name
Daddy.
is. I'm gonna marry him. He's just got a nice little spunk about him. Yeah, he's a good time. Quick with a joke. I love it. The hair. He's got like the 90s like boy hair, you know what I mean? But it's like gray.
Christian Slater in Heathers,
Literally.
but gray. Like, wild.
Like, come on. It's too much for me to handle. And also, like, if someone's gonna let you time travel with them, it's him. Tim's gonna...
But no, he's the coolest wife ever, and he never told her, so it's an impenetrable force. That's why I think Tim, he's a more penetrable force.
I guess.
He's gonna tell Rachel McAdams eventually, so that they can go back together and spend a lot of time together.
That's true.
Because you could theoretically live, not forever, but, like, you could live a 1,000,000-year life by just continuing to go back and back and back.
That's facts. That's fair.
Anyways.
But I'm gonna marry Bill Nighy. I'm gonna fuck Vanessa Kirby because
Hot.
I just have a huge crush on her. I love her so much. In everything she does, I think she's such an incredibly, incredibly underrated actress. And then I'm gonna...
The fact that she...
What?
Did she not get an Oscar nomination for Pieces of a Woman?
I think...
Did she? I think she only got a Golden Globe, right? She did not get an Oscar.
I don't think she got the nom. No. I could be wrong.
Which was...
But, like, she was... That was robbery. Like, absolutely fucked up. Who won that year, too, is the issue. So I can't remember,
this
but...
past year?
I think it was 2 years ago.
Was it Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards?
Yeah, not 3 Billboards. For, fucking, God. She's homeless.
Oh, Nomadland.
Yeah.
Trash. Yeah, sorry.
I absolutely love her. I thought she was great in Pieces of a Woman. I thought it was a standout performance. I think she's amazing in The Crown.
The Crown.
Have you watched it?
No, but I've seen clips of her in it on my fucking Twitter timeline. And I'm like, damn, I'm convinced.
No, watch a compilation of her. It's insane. She's so good. She's one of those actresses that I will watch, like, any movie for, just because I'm like, oh, she's in it. She could be in it for 5 minutes, and I'm there. But her in this, yeah, like I said, she's the only one in this movie that, like, owns any sex toys, so, like, we're gonna fuck.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna kill the one that you wanted to fuck, Harry. I'm gonna kill Harry.
Okay.
Seems like a real bastard. I don't think we'd get along.
Yeah.
There's only room...
I also don't think we'd get along, but, like...
There's only enough room for, like, one of us in this, like, gorgeous household by the sea, and I'm gonna win. We're gonna have, like a battle to the death on the seashore, so me and him.
I love it. And so then, what did you eat and drink with this?
Well, I'd like to go first, because you said you had a fire one, and I'm not at all convinced that I have anything even close to what you suggested.
It's not fire, I just think I'm clever.
Okay. Personally...
Somebody recently asked me how we built a following on this podcast, and the real answer is TikTok, but I said to them, what? You don't think I'm likable and charming?
But I said, okay, so, like, they were always talking about, like, biscuits in this, you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, like cookies.
Yeah, like little cookies.
British cookies.
Yeah. In the British term, biscuits. But I think you have, like, some nice, like, ginger snaps kind of thing, which is also, like, a little shout out to Donald Gleason being a little redhead guy.
Cute,
yeah. Like, this is also, like, it's big, like, tea and biscuits vibe kind of thing. You know how many shots we had of them just eating
tea? Yeah, drinking
tea by the sea? So many. So, like, ginger snaps, but also, like, a lilac and blackberry gin fizz. I found a really good recipe for, which is, like, you're gonna have to... You're gonna have to, like, make your own simple syrup, which is just, like...
Fire.
Yeah, it's just...
That's what you want.
It's water, sugar, blackberry, and, like, lilac. You're fine. I promise you can do it. And then 2 ounces of gin, an ounce of fresh lime juice, half ounce of that simple syrup.
Hot.
Yeah, that's about it. It's, like, so easy, so doable, so good. I don't know. This movie gave me like some floral vibes. I felt like that was the place to go.
Oh, for sure. Their little like cottage and Cornwall
Exactly.
on the fucking seaside with their little garden and shit. Wow, you actually just blew me out of the water because I said mine was good, but it's just because I think I'm funny.
Oh, I just go by
idea for
aesthetics.
this movie.
Okay, what's
No,
yours?
I loved it. So my idea for this movie is that you type into your phone grocery store, and the one that is just geographically listed as number 1, you click on it and you go to it. And then what does the average grocery store have? Like 12 aisles? So you roll a D12. You can just do that on your phone. You just say, Siri, roll a D12. She picks a number 1 through 12. D means dice, like a 12-sided dice. Or just, Siri, pick a number between 1 and 12. And so she picks, say, a 4. So you go to aisle 4, you close your eyes, because you're in the blind restaurant.
Oh my god.
You close your eyes, and you walk down aisle 4 until it just feels right, and then you grab something off the shelf, and then you build your snack around that. If you happen to just go down the Pringles aisle and you grab Pringles, that's your fucking snack. But if you go down and you grab, like, fucking beans or something, then you're having Mexican. So you just have to let fate decide your food for this movie.
I like
because it's partly letting outside forces control your life, because that's kind of the theme of the film of like, you can't always control everything, but also the blind restaurant. Who knows?
I love
She also says strawberry mousse. She said strawberry mousse at one point, and I did think strawberry ice cream would be, or like a strawberry milkshake could be kind of fun. Strawberry milkshake in my eye, and this movie did make me kind of want a milkshake because it was very like sweet and wholesome. But I do think make a little activity of it and just walk down a random grocery aisle with your eyes closed and grab something off the shelf, and then that's what you have to eat. And then my idea for alcohol was exactly the same.
I like that.
Just like random, just do what the fuck ever, walk into the package store, eyes closed, grab, you're like, oh, well, I guess we're having Jack Daniel's honey whiskey tonight. Okay.
No, I really dig what you've done here. That's super thoughtful.
Thank you, conceptual.
Yeah, and what are you gonna follow this up with?
I think you have a better answer than me, I think, so I'll go first. We typically do not regard things outside of, like, the movie genre, but we did cover an episode of Black Mirror as an episode on this podcast, so if you want to go listen to our San Junipero episode, I'm a huge Black Mirror fan. I took a college course on the TV show Black Mirror, which was whack and a total waste of my money, but was awesome. And I love that show. And Donald Gleason is in a really awesome episode, which I would argue maybe has some similar themes to this, where they sort of, his character dies and they bring him back, they like upload his consciousness to a robot, and his wife continues to live with this like AI version of him. And it does sort of have this like, that's not the real him, but I am willing to believe it is vibes, which I think for this is sort of like, if I time travel, what really counts and what doesn't. So, and he gives great performances in both, and watching this made me actively be like, damn, I should go back and rewatch that episode of Black Mirror, because I love that one. And if I actively think like this makes me want to watch something else, I just write it down, because it like happened pretty organically. And then obviously just the softball of a fucking answer is The Time Traveler's Wife.
Oh, I've never seen it.
But I haven't either. But it's fucking Rachel McAdams playing the wife of a time traveler. She's done it twice. Yeah. She's done it twice.
Yeah.
Back to back, baby. It's the same fucking movie, but I'm sure it has its differences.
Of course.
I think his is that, I believe in The Time Traveler's Wife, he can't control when he goes back in time. So it just happens, and then he has to like deal with it. But I don't really know beyond that what it is.
No
but
idea.
she is literally, she plays a time traveler's wife literally in 2 different movies. What are the fucking odds of that? So watch that as your follow-up, because it's just literally the same.
I've got a soft 2 and a hard 3rd recommendation.
Okay, hit me.
So obviously the obvious choice is the classic Rachel McAdams, The Notebook. This is her at her like peak. It's her at her best romance-wise. It's just...
Do you want to know a secret?
What?
I like, you know this about me. I've never seen it.
I definitely knew that. It's my bread and butter. I do love that movie. I've, like, had a party at my house, and, like, someone had people staying over, and they, like, kind of, like, exited the party and, like, went up to another room, and they were, like, watching The Notebook, and I just sat there for, like, 25 minutes just watching it with them. Because I was like, I need a breather. And this is a great movie. My secondary answer is, and more of a, culturally relevant one now, watch Everything Everywhere All at Once. While it's not particularly time travel, I think it's got sort of a similar message of, like, live your life, like, nothing's, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, nothing you do, like,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? Like, it's not that, like, well, Everything Everywhere, like, definitely has, like, the whole, like, nothing matters kind of vibe. Just, like, enjoy it while you can sort of thing, which is exactly the same sort of message that this movie gives.
Absolutely.
Which I really like, and it sort of swings more into the sci-fi realm. A lot harder than this
in a
one.
far superior way. I want a swamp count from since we did our episode of Everything Everywhere All at Once, which honestly, I think I brought it up even before that, but since we covered that movie, how many episodes since have we mentioned? Because I think every week we're like, Everything Everywhere, if you haven't seen it at this point, I don't know if it's available to rent or
not rent,
stream anywhere.
You have to buy it, because this is my plans. I think I said this the other day when I was recording.
You're gonna buy it, yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna buy it. I haven't yet, but tonight's my night. I'm gonna buy it, and I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna watch it again.
But if, like, literally, I feel like every week we're beating the dead horse of this is our, honestly, I haven't seen a movie since in theaters that I genuinely, like, loved is like, I did love it, but even liked. Like, I haven't seen anything since then that I liked. Also, if you live in a city where Marcel the Show
I was just about to say
playing,
this.
if you live in a city where that is playing, I know it's in pretty select theaters right now, but that movie made me sob. It made me laugh out loud. It made me, like, more emotions within, like, an hour and 40 minutes than I have felt in a really long time. I absolutely adored it. So if you live somewhere where that is playing, that's another new movie that I really like. It's so fucking good. I know.
I've been looking at theaters for, like, the last week, and the closest place to me is Boston, which is a 2-hour drive, and it's brutal.
Yeah. It's playing pretty selectively. I'm thinking that it'll have a pretty limited run because it's a pretty, like, indie thing. But once it comes out on streaming, you guys, y'all better go watch that fucking movie because it is.
My final movie suggestion for you all, though, is Beginners, the Mike Mills film Beginners.
Okay.
It's Ewan McGregor and Christopher Plummer, I believe, and it's kind of in the same vein. It's a bit of a romance, but it is more on the side of about this son and his relationship with his father, who comes out to him at a very old age, and he also gets, like, cancer kind of thing. So it's like he's, like, coming out and, like, finally expressing his actual self to his son, like, while he's dying kind of thing, which is, like, it's very sad, but it's also a very great movie, and it's sort of in the same vein of this as, like, while this is definitely a romance movie, I think one of the biggest plot lines is the father-son narrative, for sure. And honestly, it's the most endearing. Like, while Donald and, like, Rachel McAdams are great, him and Bill Nighy are, like, the two that, like, really are the ones that pull at my heartstrings. And it's the same sort of thing with this. Like, Ewan McGregor and Christopher Plummer are absolutely outstanding. I think it's a great movie, and personally, Mike Mills is one of my favorite directors, so I think it's just sweet, and I love the aesthetic of his films, so I'd give you, that's my top tier recommendation for after this.
Nice. Blast from the Past, we almost covered that movie on our very first ever Ewan McGregor, but then we thought that maybe not enough people would have seen it to get on board with our very new baby podcast, so we covered much more mainstream things, but that was in the works, so maybe I'll have to watch that sometime soon. You make a good argument for it. And then what would you give this movie out of 10? I'm sorry, Emily, I'm giving it a 4.
That's fair. I'm gonna give it a 6.5. Yeah, it's not amazing. I definitely liked it a lot more the first time around. I did not love the plot line of when he's trying, like, basically, first 10 minutes, fine. But, like, him from Margot Robbie until he gets married, not until he gets married, but, like, until he's, like, solidly in a relationship with Rachel McAdams, don't care for it.
Until Margot Robbie wants to fuck him again, and then he just has the willpower to say no, and that's how he knows he's in love. I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah, right. Oh, how strong.
Fuck you.
But, like, at the same time, I do have to give it to him, because, like, that, like, if Margot Robbie wanted to fuck me, fair. But also, yeah, no
doubt.
entirely. Yeah, that's like, that, like, whole, like, probably 20-25 minute chunk could have done without, but
could have been 2-hour film, could have been 90 minutes
again.
But as always, thank you everyone so much for listening. Continue to send us your rom-com suggestions. As you heard this week, it was more rom and a little less com and a little more sci-fi ? I would say not, but rom-dram, I guess. So we're kind of just playing around with this month because who fucking cares? So send us your rom-coms that you like. We've gotten a couple good ones already, and we're planning for the rest of the month, and we love to hear everything you have to say, especially about future movies, movie themes, chocolate or vanilla themes, anything you ever want to hear us talk about. Please DM us. We love to hear from all of you. Makes my day every fucking time. You have no idea. And we love you and we appreciate you, and all of our social media links are in the description below, so where you can find all of our shit, Instagram, email, Facebook, where you can Facebook. We don't have a Facebook. Why did I say that? Where you can reach us, TikTok, all that good stuff. And I think that's all I have to say. So, if you could time travel back in time, would you, I don't even know what I'm about to say. If you could time travel back in time,
where would I go? Where would I go right now? That's,
in your life?
In my life?
I would stay right here because I love recording this podcast with you so much.
Oh my god, thank you so much.
I'd go back to 1 hour ago so I could do this all over again with you, Emily. Aww. And thank you so much to everyone who has listened. Goodbye and good night.